What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about 7 Days to Die. I'm going to do this thing where it's going to be like the good, the bad, and then my review, my thoughts on the game. But it'll also be like what I think is bad and what I think is good. The first thing I want to talk about is the matchmaking system and the way, you get into the servers. I felt like it was pretty shitty, at least for the first week. I feel like it's getting better, but what would happen a lot would be I try to load up into a game and I can't even really, it would just give me an error, or it would just take forever to find a game, and that sucked as well. Like when you're trying to play with your friends, you would be playing in a game, and then they leave and then you decide to play later. Like it's really hard to get back into their game with just through the 7 Days to Die, like just through their menu. Like what you have to do is go through the ps4, and it's kind of like a backdoor way to join their game. So like that kind of sucks. It's really hard to join games that you've been playing in before, other than a world that you created yourself. There should be like some kind of friends queue, or like what your friends are doing, your friends' games, like previously played games. Now I understand that the servers are set up that the player host is sets up the server, so I understand that. It would just be, I just feel like it could be better if it had, different navigation options. There are a lot of bugs, and at first, like when I first started playing this game, I was like, oh, I really don't like this at all. Like here you can even see, as I was walking to go meet my friends, and it was like the world just cut off, and it didn't load, and my friend was to the north of me, past where I was, so it was like there's obviously land over there, but it didn't generate in my game. And it's kind of like, well, this is the only time it happened to me, but it's like, what the F, this really sucks. And we've had problems with not being able to see models. Like, so I was playing with my friend last night, and you couldn't see like the guns he was carrying, or like he had, the sledgehammer, but like you couldn't see it in his hand. He was just holding nothing. Some of the clothing like doesn't show up, and like these are small things, but I mean, he was crafting me a weapon. He crafted me a sledgehammer and dropped it on the ground, but when we looked on the ground, there was nothing there. And we checked underneath us because we were on the second floor, and it wasn't there either. So, he had crafted a weapon and it didn't show up at all. So, there's a lot of little bugs like that. I noticed too, like I killed this big police, like this bloated police zombie the other day, and it just kind of froze in midair and never went through like the death animation or anything. But like I said, like most of these bugs are really small. But when I first started playing the game, I was thinking like, man, this kind of sucks. Like, this is shitty. I just spent my money on this, and I know it's early alpha, and it's been early alpha for like 2 years, but it's kind of like, and the graphics aren't even that great, which I'm okay like with the graphics not being great, as long as it has like strong gameplay mechanics and strong gameplay themes, concepts, and ideas. So that was kind of like my first big complaint, was that the game was just too buggy. And I loaded another clip up here, and you can see like a lot of the floor fell out of this, island refuge outpost kind of thing, and it would just seem like, and like they were falling out as I was like walking across the board. So I don't know like if there's something wrong with like the physics, like the construction physics or what, because I know when you build things, physics comes into play. Like you can't build like 3 blocks up and then 5 blocks over in midair and expect the structure to be supported, because it's not without support beams. But even there, you see like the blocks are just falling down. And this was all loaded up in the Nas game in the default map. So to me, that was kind of like, okay, like this is messed up. Like it wasn't a procedurally generated map, which is a really cool concept that I'll touch on later. But it was something that's defaulted into the game. So like, like this should be really good. Like the Nazgam map should be really good, and you would think like everything would be really solid, but it isn't. And even underneath this, which I found really weird, and I don't know if there's any in this clip, but like the water had actually like fallen. Like it looked like they were kind of like whirlpools or little waterfalls, where like the blocks of water would be sunken in, so like the water wouldn't be level. And it must have just had been something wrong with like the physics in this part, or the way that, like this area is set up. I think you might be able to see some, but probably not. So my big thing is there's a lot of little bugs that need to be fixed. Now, with that being said, this whole game is like little things. Like, it's all about the little things. Like, they really haven't hit home. Like, they're not hitting a home run here with anything. And there's a lot of little problems. But with that being said, there's also a lot of little things that are really great and that are really awesome about this game, and that they're doing really well.
Welcome to PS and Gas.
Pass and gas. Gases for the masses.
All right, so the good things, the things that I found good about 7 Days to Die. I first want to talk about the crafting system. Man, like, this crafting system is like really in depth. It's very thorough. Like, I think they did it really well. What you have to do in the game is, harvest, quote unquote, like natural resources like wood, stone, fiber, things like that. But even later in the game, nitrate, rock, to make like gunpowder, and even to make weapons, like you have to make like the handle, the barrel, the body, the sights, the suppressors, like things like that. Like, they just go really in depth, and it's like you can't just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, you don't just build that way. You kind of go like 1, 2, then back to 1, then to 3, then back to 2, to 4, to 5, to like, I mean, there's like at least 100 things to like craft in this game, and you have to craft other things to make even greater things. Like, you start off, the first big thing in my mind is trying to get a forge going, so you can smelt iron and make forged iron and concrete and forged metals and things like that. And like that's really cool just to be like that intricate, and to be paying attention to the small detail, because like I said before, like, this game is all about little things. It's all about the small details, and the crafting system is definitely proof of that. Like, it's really awesome. You can see me right here. Like, when you have nothing, you can just punch trees and punch rocks to get those natural resources to be able to craft your first stone axe. And using the stone axe will on trees and rocks will yield you greater resources. I mean, like, this is really good. It's not it's not some half-assed like crafting system where it's like, there's pieces of glass and duct tape all over, so like, let's make shivs, and that's the only thing you can craft is shivs. Like, no, it's not like that. Like, you can craft bone shivs and combat knives and hunting knives and different kinds of bladed items. It's really good. And I mean, even to the building of a base, it's just all very intricate, and you can't just do it all at one time. And games like this, like ideas like this is what makes great games. All right, so along with the giant crafting system and the giant in-depth crafting system they have like these skill trees. So like, when you level up your character, and you pretty much level from doing anything, like even just running or hitting things with your stone axe, any kind of crafting you do will get you points for different areas. And there's just tons and tons of different ways to spend your points. And like, that's great. And especially if you and your friends can stay in one world and just constantly be leveling, like, this really can make your character like very versatile and heading in one direction. Like, I don't know if there is player cap at all, or if you should really specifically or specify and build your character in one direction, and your friend should build into another. I'm not really sure how that all plays out, but I mean, you can just see from this clip, like, what do you even spend your points on? And that's great. It's not having just 1 or 2 points or 1 or 2 trees. It's like, what am I even, when you question yourself to how you're going to build your character, like, this is another great concept for a game, is the fact that you're questioning yourself, am I making the right choice or not? And as far as I saw, there's really no way to respect, so it's kind of like the choices you make are set in stone for this server. And it's like, that's one of the greatest things about games, and I think a lot of games have gone away from, is, being able to fail at building a character, making it not so set in stone, like everybody grows the same way. Like, games should give you more options and more opportunities to fail as the player. So those are like the 2 things that I thought like they did really well like just at first glance. Now, there's a lot of little things that I thought they did really well too, but above and beyond anything, like the crafting system is great, and I think the skill progression and player progression is really detailed too. And like, that's something you need for a game like this. Like, that's going to give it the replayability and the lifespan that the developers and the people who created this game are going to want to build a regular returning population for the game. So here's something that I thought was really cool too. Like, me and my friend here are like digging, and this was like obviously the wrong thing to do, but I didn't find that out till later. But we found a treasure map, and like this is the waypoint that was marked out on the treasure map. So my friend's thinking like, oh, we should just dig a giant hole because it's probably buried treasure. Now, to come to find out later, like after I did some searching on Wiki, like it's not. The treasure maps, the treasure just is in this area, and that's how it works. I guess from my understanding, we actually never found the treasure, but to my understanding, that's how it works. Another cool thing that has to do with digging is, I don't have a clip for it, but me and my friend were playing last night, and we found a graveyard, and we were thinking like, how cool would it be if we dug up the graves and the coffins were in the ground? And sure enough, when we dug up the graves, there was coffins in the ground, and you could actually search and loot the coffins. With that being said, at the same time, we were actually having a conversation about the different types of zombies in the game, and one of the really cool things is there's like these decrepit like mother zombies, and when you kill them, like they have a lot of food or water, which is kind of like something a mother potentially is going to have on them. I mean, like a mother's job is to kind of like feed, nurture, and care for her kids, At the same time, there's like nurse zombies, and they'll have like they'll have vitamins and painkillers and health packs and different like medical items. There's lumberjacks, which we haven't really found anything too cool, but one of the lumberjacks my friend did kill is he found like a red shirt and blue pants. So like that's like a really cool thing to think about, and something that could have easily been overlooked is zombies are going to be carrying stuff, and like that's a big thing for me too, is even the zombies are carrying stuff, and you can loot the zombie bodies. Like, how many zombie games are there that like you kill a zombie and the zombies don't have anything, like they're not holding anything in their pockets when they got turned or anything? And like, what, that's not realistic. Like, zombies were people at one point, and they carried things, and some of these zombies were survivors at one point, so they would have been scavenging and stuff too. Like, how cool would it be to find scavengers, or zombies that lasted longer than the initial outbreak and had been scavenging things? Like, you should be able to find zombies that are somewhat like you. Like that would be really cool. But they did do a really good job. Like, even when I killed the policeman zombie, he had 2 pistols and some ammo, and it's like, okay, like that's probably what a policeman would be carrying. So they did a really great job there. Some of the other things I want to talk about is the different biomes they have. I've seen that in other survival games, and I'm really glad that they carried that over. Although right now, this is one of the bad things that I did want to talk about. There is definitely something wrong with the temperature of your character. Like, even when you're not doing anything, like your dude will overheat like crazy, and you could be like in the water. You could run to like a snow biome and get in the water, and like it'll stay overheated, and we're not really sure why this is. We're just assuming that it's a bug with something that has to do with the mechanics of like the internal temperature of your character or whatever. So, or something to do with like the fatigue and stamina and things of that nature, but we're not totally sure. Along with that though, is like we were sitting in the snow biome with no clothes on or nothing, and we're at like 40 degrees, and potentially like we'd probably be dead, but we weren't dead. We were fine, which was really weird. So along with biomes and the maps and stuff, one of the things that I kind of mentioned earlier was the maps. And the way like the maps are set up. So like when you go to start up a game, you can actually choose between the Nazgam map, which is like a map that'll always be the same. All the landmarks are always the same. The buildings, everything's in the same area. Not the loot, obviously. I think the loot is procedurally generated every single time. But you can also create a world with a procedurally generated map, so it's like water, everything will be random, everything's just random. And from my understanding, the world is infinite, and like you can just run off as long as you want, and it'll keep generating, more buildings, more cars, more lootable structures, more zombies, everything and all that. And like, you know what, like that's really cool, because like if you get sick of playing the default map, or you don't want to play the default map, you can just start a random world. Along with that, there is a way to create what they call like a creative server, and I haven't really done a lot with it, but my friend has, and we talked about it a little bit. And basically, like in the creative world, or the creative play, it's like you can just spawn anything you want, and you can just drop anything you want. You really don't need to craft or anything. It's kind of like you have like total admin rights to the world and to the game and to all the tools, which like I think is really cool. Again, like if you get bored with the created maps or the default map, or you just want to do anything you want to do, like you want to get down on the 7th day on the hardest difficulty, give yourself all the weapons, the best armor, awesome structures, and just try to kick ass that way. Like, it's cool that they're pretty much letting you do whatever you want. And in my mind, like that's a good thing, and in your mind, that should be a good thing too. I feel like I'm potentially leaving stuff out, but this review's getting really long, so let me just get to what I think about the game. At first, like I said, I thought this game was complete shit when I first started playing it. All I saw was bugs and things that made me dislike this game, and it's just like, I don't really want to play this. And I was kind of pissed off that I spent my money on it at first, and like I told another friend of mine who saw me playing, he was like, oh, how is it? And I said, don't even bother getting it. With that being said, like that was within the first 5 to 10 hours. After I started playing with some of my friends that had already gotten the game, and we started progressing through the game, crafting, building, exploring, surviving, I was like, man, like like this game is actually pretty good. It's fun to loot houses with your friends, and like you hear zombies, and maybe you're on the first floor and you're going to the second, and your friend's on the second, and he's like, hey, like there's 3 zombies, like let's go back to the front door, bottleneck them and beat the crap out of them and kill them, without getting hurt. And it's like, all right, that's a really good idea. And there's just a lot of, I mean, I guess like I know you can play any game with your friends and it'll be fun for the most part, but like this one really is, and this one really is fun. And like after the first 5 or 10 minutes of playing it, or the first 5 or 10 hours, you might think this game sucks, but it actually is really good. And going back to what I said in the beginning, is it's all about the little things. There's little things in this game that'll probably bother you, that'll probably make you kind of not want to play, or just shut the game right off. But in my opinion, if you stick through it, there's a lot more little things that are really good about this game. It's almost like it's just one of those like hidden gems in the world. And I know it's been out a long time, and I know there's probably tons of reviews out here, but even for the console, like it's really good. I wish that there were dedicated servers or more, for the consoles. Like I think that would be a lot better to get, 20 or 30 players in a world at one time. It would be a lot better for PvP and stuff. But even as it is right now, like the PvE experience, like this game is really good, and it's really enjoyable. Like if you're open-minded to survival games and open-minded to zombie games and crafting and all the things that come with it, it's actually a really enjoyable game. Just so I don't miss out here too. So like every 7 days there's a monster horde, and like that's the idea of the game. And so like there's always this overlooming concern, like, oh, let's get back before nightfall, or we gotta build this before the 7th day, and that's always going on. But like do it with your friends. Like this game is meant to be played with your friends. Single player, potentially you're gonna be bored as fuck unless you're like just a total lone wolf. Like you might enjoy it, but what really makes this game fun for me is the multiplayer experience, and that's like partially how it was set up. And I felt really immersed into the world. I'm just going to start rambling, so I'm just going to finish the video. I hope you guys liked it. This game is good. I think it's good. I wish that they would talk about doing a standalone, but obviously they have no ideas. But like as it is right now, like this game is fun with your friends, so just go play it, like get immersed in it. If you're into survival, zombie, crafting, exploration games, like this is good. Just stick with it, give it some time. Let me know what you think in the comment sections. Other than that, I'm going to sign out, so I'll catch you guys in the next one.